just state that. So with my blessings and love, Tony, thank you. Have a good one. See you on the other side. Heavenly tones are transmitted into this unfolding of events. This creation we hold together. In love, we have summoned this revelation. I have come here to be instrumental in your awakening, in your discovery. And it is with gratitude. It is with my unconditional acceptance and deep love for all that you are, that I extend my appreciation for you creating this situation. So thank you, dear Tony. I am the Archangel Metatron. You know me well. How may I assist you this day, dear one?
Hello, Metatron. I'm blessed that we've connected, and thank you for your service. I have a few questions here. I've had a few challenges face me that I would like answers to or clarification on. I've heard you come through in various forms across the internet over the last couple of years, and I've really, including the sessions you've done with Mads, and I'm blown away with connecting with you every time, even though it may be indirectly. So I've got about 10 questions here, and I'm sorry that they seem a little bit kind of based around me, but I honestly thought you was the best person to ask. I believe that the second coming of Christ that's mentioned in the scriptures is not Yeshua himself returning, but humanity ascending into Christ consciousness through raising its collective vibration. And I just wanted to know whether I was correct about that.
You realize that words are hazy when describing these mysteries, but I can confirm 100% completely that your description of it is far more accurate than the idea of a savior, a personal Jesus, as the expression goes, descending from the heavens and restoring humanity in its helplessness into a state of bliss. So what you are experiencing is exactly this awakening. And the Christ that awakens in the second coming is the Christ within. It is the shared universal self. This is also why we connect this day, because the self itself, the idea of personality, of egotism, of ego, is based very much in the concept of the 3D. So this idea is that everything is separate, and therefore you can also separate everything into qualities, meaning that either something is selfless or something is selfish. But what you are finding is that when selfishness, self-centeredness, that is centered on actually the release, the development, the cultivation of the self, the Christ within, when that is at the center of your experience, it may seem as if you're focusing very locally on what is needed in your own situation, rather than what someone else needs from you. But you are actually honoring something that is universally valid. That is, you are protecting truth and light. And this truth and light it is a flame that also needs to be protected, that needs to be kept before, let's say, cold and wicked, capricious winds can extinguish it. So that's the idea, that this type of self-centeredness that you are bringing forward this day, it's actually a keeping of the light. And it is this light keeper role. I can affirm this, and this will become more evident to you also in the coming years, that this speaks very much to your soul group, your deep quality. This is why you came to this place, and this is why you have kept returning to this planet, even though you may feel that it's cruel tendencies, its tendencies to rip what is beautiful, good, bright, and loving apart. Well, that is also something that very much sits wrong with you, that has a very distinct feeling of being unjust. And therefore, you feel called to set things right. Know that that is a part of your innermost being, and it is true that it should be so.
Thank you, Metatron. That was really, really valuable, a really valuable response for me, because there's a lot of confusion down here, and you know, I just wanted validation for myself. It's down to others to find their own way. I've personally found there's no point, even if I'm enlightened to responses like that. There's no point in me trying to, you know, sell it to others. If they're just not ready, then if they're not ready for it, then they won't accept it, no matter where it's from. It's for them to find themselves. So I've found the answer to that question from you. So I'm grateful. Thank you. I'm interested about not just not the who I am here at the moment, but who was I and who am I? As far as like my previous incarnations, and I know that I'm infinite, so it would be pointless to say how old am I, because I'm a part of the all that is. But I am interested in when Yeshua was alive in that era of the Roman Empire and Sumeria, Atlantis, and maybe possibly even beyond there. Whether you can shed some light as to what I am and who I am.
I'm very appreciative of these questions. They reflect a great wisdom, and they also reflect a great nuance of your understanding. So notice how you have also cultivated this very sophisticated understanding on the different layers of yourself. Because you are right, if we were to describe your innermost core, that is the pure ray of existence itself that constitutes your inner being, that would be endless. We could say that then the qualities that manifest into your specific incarnation at this point, this process began in time approximately 17 universes ago. That is 17 complete cycles of a universe arising from creation to completion. But that also speaks to the fact that this soul principle passes through these different creations of the universe, and you are becoming more and more refined within them. So it's a refinement that you're experiencing in your existence. It is not as if spirit is this serene quality, which indeed it feels like when you connect to it, but then you are the gross, disconnected, wrong, fallen matter, Rather, matter constitutes a deep refinement of spirit. Spirit is simply examining through you whether or not it's able to be held within existences of so grave tension, of so grave conflict. And this is what you are experiencing and embodying in your incarnations in these lifetimes. So we could say the periods you point to, Atlantis, Sumeria, the Roman era, these are all in time, of course, compared to the Big Bang, very, very close in your experience. And so you will find that the central theme is also quite close. The central theme is for you to hold light in contrast with pain. And so in Sumeria, what you undertook, and let's take that as a central point, was you kept the flame in, we believe this deity was called Enlil, though you may look it up and look into it. But we know that in this lifetime, well, what you would undertake was to undergo the strict rhythms of his prescriptions. So the idea was that the temple priest itself became a kind of physical exposition of the calendar. So the rhythms, the fasts, the weird prescriptions of what food could be eaten at certain times, at what hours of the day you would have to remain wakeful, and often stay awake all through the night for several nights in a row. This would be the role that you played here, or a central one, this priestly role, also taking upon yourself these austerities. Well, in Atlantis, where the vibrations were higher, you will find you had a similar light keeper role, but here you would often tend to the central pool. Our friend here has been in another context also funneling quite a lot of information about the later days of Atlantis through to another individual interested in these queries. They have mapped out that there was this type of central pool containing hyper or supercharged water molecules in a type of plasmatic state where they also functioned as a library. You would be the one to tend to this plasmatic state, so you would again often stay wakeful around this light, interrupting your hours, destroying in many ways your biological rhythms in order to tend to and keep the light, because you marveled at its presence. You felt that keeping that was more important than any need that you may have. Then in the Roman era, we find you, well, you are to a very high degree connected to different manifestations of Judaism. That is, you will find even in the pre-Christian centuries, we sense that you are connected to the uprisings of the Maccabees, for instance. And here you get put to death quite a lot. So it's these, let's say, zealous uprisings and then gruesome punishments. So you actually return quite a few times to take part in these repeated uprisings. And then with the Christian movement, you sort of change tact with that. So you begin to forego the violence. And we see you here connected in particular to the disciple known as Philip. And we sense indeed then that you often return in these centuries to proselytize, to walk the empire, and you even become quite active in the Eastern mission. So we see you walking the Silk Road and spreading it, these early forms of Christianity all the way east as well, often finding your end in quite grim ways. Then you often turn up in monastic movements, but also often in movements where you find you are persecuted, whether that be as a Cathar, a Bogomil, or a Puritan, you tend to stick to these places of, let's say, the minority that's in the right, but also very much gets burned for that honesty that it tends to hold, that light that it insists on holding.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. I mean, I could just talk to you all day, Metatron, um, about previous incarnations. I was very interested to hear of someone that had actually been a rock on a beach, and I believe that they was in that position for millions of years, and it just inspired me. It just inspired me really to look at the timelessness of our creation. So thank you just for spreading some clarity on a very small part of that. Thank you. Um, my beloved partner Lisa, she was my first love at school. We parted for the best part of 20 years, and we've found each other again. We've been inseparable for the last 12 years, and she's going through this awakening process with me, and we're having some problems as well in with some close members of family where we live at the moment, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you. Before I get into that, I just wanted to ask you how far do Lisa and I go back in time before this incarnation? You know, how many incarnations have we both had together on Gaia, if any? And just briefly, if there's anything that goes, if we've been together before outside of Mother Earth, I'd be interested to know that. And as a twin flame, are we on the right path in service to the Most High? Would you be able to add some clarity to that, please?
On Gaia, you have been, let's say, closely intertwined in your lifetime projects approximately 753 times, though we can say that your lifetimes have crossed in more or less significant or meaningful ways in approximately 72,247 times. So that is to say that you are closely intertwined in this. You will then find that, seeing as you have this deep resonance pattern together, this is also mirrored in galactic configurations. Your star bodies we sense are connected, for instance, also to the twin dance of Sirius A and B. So you have a tendency to group yourself in energy very close to each other, but also in ways that are, let's say, juxtapositional, challenging, difficult. And this is essentially the true creative dynamic of the male and the female, or the hard and the yielding. You can construe it in different ways, but you will notice that you have this resonance together also because it attracts itself over time. It seems to move across decades as if they were nothing. This is a sign of this young love returning again to awaken, let's say, a more pure instinct in a place in adulthood where you are ready to again hold this flame for each other and reawaken it. So we will also point to, that is, in my angelic heart, I feel an abundance of joy constantly, but we register that the vessel here feels a kind of serene gladdening of the heart, that humans respond to when they hear this kind of story of two people who have known each other when they are young and coming together, sticking together through a difficult growth process. This speaks to a deep resonance between you, a type of quantum entanglement where if you were to separate, you would still find that the telepathic exchanges would be very, very powerful. And you would also find that you would be drawn to reunite. That is, imagine yourself in a reality where you were cut off from all kinds of digital contact. You would still find reality would organize itself in a way where even if you went to Bermuda and she went to Taiwan, you would somehow still have your paths cross in 5 years' time. So that is, we can really affirm this deep, deep resonance within this. Also notice that in your soul contracts, you have mapped it out that the both of you are set to help each other awaken and hold space for that awakening. That also speaks to a deep trust, a deep intimacy that has been built over lifetimes.
Wow, that's beautiful, Metatron, Adonai. Right, our house move keeps failing, and just when we think we're about to release ourselves from this demonic, negative, dark environment, something happens in our timeline, and we wake up in this nightmare for another day. We're struggling to see, Lisa and I are struggling to see what else there is to learn from the experience, our domestic experience, where we are at the moment in Cornwall. We have issues with my mum and my stepdad, and we believe that they refuse to be loved by us anyway, and on that basis, we feel that there's nothing more that we can do coming from a place of unconditional love that can serve this situation in any positive way. So on that basis, we are trying to vibrate in a higher place in a different location, but our sales keep falling through for one reason or another, and I just wanted to know if you have any idea when we will be free from this test. Is there anything else that we need to do to bring this situation to a close? And we have a dream home that we have almost lost. We haven't quite lost it yet, but I wanted to know that if you know what that home is, because I believe the Most High set that house apart for me and Lisa, and it's been pulled from our grasp. I just wanted to know if you know what that property is, whether you'd be at liberty to let us know if at some point we'll end up in it, because we're very anxious about the whole situation.
Have no fear. Be not afraid. Know that the work that you have put into this awakening process, it will manifest itself in the ways it is supposed to, as it has done. So this is a reminder that things are in order from this higher perspective. Now, addressing this situation, the home, know that this home encourages you to follow your heart, to follow your excitement. your vibration. This is a call for you that you have heeded. And so there are still helpful things that you can retrieve from interacting with this house and this home, from following your attraction to it. This is what I am at liberty to divulge at the moment. That is because the emotional states that you may feel are conflicting with this shift, they are asking for you to accept them. So there is a deep grief, a deep sorrow here to be had. And my encouragement to you and Lisa is that you select certain objects. They may be objects that have a, say, strong emotional residual effect, a type of binding effect. And then you choose a space to bury them. It would be helpful, seeing as you are in Cornwall, that this space overlooks a place where the sun sets below the sea. You do not need to bury them particularly deep, but that is if you select items. You may find 5 as a helpful number, though it is more important that you select things that have an emotional charge. And you may even feel that these are objects that have caused a lot of grief, argument, fuss, or trouble in your relationship with those family relations that are causing you trouble. So this is a way of burying this and grieving the nightmare, because what you have done is that you have indeed offered love, and you are indeed correct in also then understanding that love sets itself apart from hatred in its quality to be voluntary, to be on offer, rather than to be something that forces itself on others, which is, of course, why forced baptisms and the like are a paradox of understanding, because the idea is that love is exactly the force that sets free, and it even sets free and allows for bitterness and hatred to reside and exist. Though there is a role, this is very much embodied by Michael, the archangel, that also protects this love, that also shields it. And that is because the light that you are growing, the flame that you are protecting, if it is constantly trying to light a fire that somebody is, excuse us our language, but that somebody is pissing on to put out, you may notice that your fire is indeed wasted there, that it is better that you should keep it, that you should grow it, and then go light a fire, a place where people are actually interested in getting warm, rather than showing you the futility of the love that you are actually trying to bring to the situation, the warmth that you want to bring into a shared situation. So it is this strange paradox of acceptance, of actually shrugging it off, of seeing its powerlessness, because there is the horror of love, that it actually cares, and so it experiences the rejection of it. It experiences its opposite as a nightmare, as something terrible. And this is something that still resides to be, or still lives in your vibration to be seen and forgiven, to be held and understood. That is that you are not obligated to love that which cannot hold that love in return. You are not obligated to suffer for good to exist in the world. This is the old paradigm. And the new one says that love is actually shared, it is actually a grown shared vibration. And the more that you step into the light, the more light should also begin to honor you and exist around you. And we can assure you that this is what is happening. So if you take stock of the last 6 years, you will notice that these shifts are taking place and that you have proven to a very high degree your strength, your capacity to hold light for others, to hold space, to support others, to show them love, even when you yourself were struggling and in need of it.
Yes, Metatron, it's thank you for that. And as I raise my own vibration, I just struggle to align with the philosophy that some people reject the love and the light of the universe and all that is, which they are a part of. I understand the polarity and the duality, and I understand that these people here are also part of me, and they are taking a different role to in order to provide me with an experience, and I love them unconditionally for that. I understand what that's about, but I just don't understand. It's not the rejection of my love; it's the rejection of the all that is, which they are a part of, that I struggle with. But thank you very much for the clarity on that. So I'm getting some very lucid um, dreams, visions between 3:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting some messages. I wanted to ask, is it a form of channeling? And is it possible for me to exercise more clarity in that state so I can exercise more consciousness? It just seems that, my head's inside a washing machine of different images and emotions. And, I'd just like to be able to stop that, go outside and look through into the drum from the outside so I can actually, while I'm in there, make sense of what's actually going on. If I'm really interested in that side of it, and I feel that where I am at the moment is that a lot of information is being handed to me at those special times of the night, and I just wonder if there's anything personally that you can do that would enable me to make more sense of the messages that I receive during those times.
I am, as you are also offering this prayer to me, I am extending it to you, to your guides, and we could say the wider family of invisibles around you that are also instrumental in serving this up. You are well aware that these beings, as helpful as they may be, they often sometimes have a little trouble understanding the limitations of the human focus on time, existence in time. That means that the visions that you receive, they don't really come in sequence. They rather come in intense flashes. And you would find that progressing in your life, that these flashes will essentially unravel, unpack, that much of this inspiration is of such a complex quality that as your vibration heightens, as your perspective heightens, it will begin to unpack and be understood on different levels in your life. So we can assure you that even though it feels overwhelming, things are unfolding in a wider time frame in a very meaningful way. Though then I will ask them then to, let's say, be more approachable, to be more delicate in the way that they serve up this information. Then notice here what you are essentially training to do in the ascension process is to experience yourself from the outside and the inside simultaneously. And so a lot of this has to do with cultivating the ability to hold these new states of mind. And the way you can do this is that you can record, you can approach this through, well, you could choose spontaneous writing. You could also choose then in the morning when you wake up to process it by writing it down. You could jot it down by selecting choice words, keeping a journal by your bedside. But you could also keep a dictaphone, a recorder of sorts, use your mobile device, any contraption that will help you record these impulses to express them. And then you can go back and digest them in the daytime, where you will find that they open up in a completely different way to you. They are far more approachable. In general, it is not, well, these nighttime hours are not well suited for, let's say, the clarity of understanding that sunlight brings about.
That's great. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask if you could scan me. I just wanted to check to any kind of disease or anything that I needed to pay particular attention to. And also, I don't really, at the moment, because of the, maybe it's an excuse, but because of work commitments and the way my life is here in this incredibly negative environment at the moment, I'm struggling with things like meditation. So I just wondered whether you would be able to just scan me and just check physically that you know, there's anything there that I need to pay any attention to, and possibly if you could kind of unblock any chakras for me, just to give me a bit of a reset, for me to, you know, start the week off with next week, whether you could do that.
Yes. And there is the paradox in awakening that once consciousness expands, you will find, much as the hypochondriac, that things that essentially are just there in the normal experience of having a body with its strange misalignments and imbalances, flows and adjustments, that those become quite acute to your attention, because you are all of a sudden experiencing yourself anew without a filter. You are actually sensing the deep miracle that it is that you are a someone with a body. But through that realization, you are also sensing then that there may be things in your body that are askew or are awry. What I can say in general is that there is a casing around you. It has been installed by your guardian angel. It is being upheld and it is tethered. It is well connected to the angelic realms. So in general, we sense that there is a great deal of protection around you. Also, understand the wisdom of this. It is the idea that, well, he sets a table for you amidst your enemies. You are indeed protected, and that is why you have been able to walk through a lot of darkness in a lot of lifetimes. So that is the general outline of your situation. Then within this, you may find that you would do well in, when you are seated in any kind of surface, to allow for awareness to sink into, when possible, when you remember it, into the lower part of your body. That is essentially your buttocks and the surface that touches the surface area that you are sitting upon. So simply the interaction, the interconnection, the meeting between the piece of furniture and your body, become aware of that. And that will help you feel a sense of calm, feel a sense of ease, feel a sense of gravity, because you may sense that there is a slightly frenetic energy in your system that's brought about by the heightened vibration. So often you will find that people who undergo this awakening process, if you were to go to your doctor, he may detect, for instance, that there are, let's say, certain endocrine imbalances, certain hormonal imbalances that would sometimes flare up. So indeed, your adrenal system is a bit overworked. So what you can do is, anytime you feel the need to calm down, any type of soothing reward you may be able to give yourself. And reward is to be thought in the quite abstract and also the quite minute. So it can simply be, giving yourself the pleasure of just sitting, staring into the wall for 2 minutes, or it can be giving yourself the pleasure of just allowing yourself to place your hands on your thighs and not have to do anything. It's actually often just these small installments of stillness that we can encourage you to do. Indeed, there is a very healthy flow. Indeed, you have progressed over, let's say, the tipping point where it was mostly darkness being released as the vibration of light increased. And now it is rather the vibration of light making space and sweeping in the corners. So you will find that where you may do well in giving yourself more space is especially behind the navel point and in the throat area. So I will proceed to transmit some energy releases in the navel area. I transmit this formula, this allowance of relaxation, of deep release. The Holy Mother transmits her love, and she ties the navel cord that energetically is never broken, that holds you back into your universal, celestial, eternal being. She ties that with love, with deep binds of care, concern, participation, of compassion. She ties that navel cord to your center, and she feeds you with light, allowing you to heal, to restore, and to rebalance. Here then, in the center of your throat, behind the Adam's apple, behind this magical instrument of vibration, of spellcasting and summoning, you find that your guides, your guardians, your companions, your friends of high insights, wisdom, of deep knowledge, they connect and they ask you to express this wisdom that they have been transmitting. They ask you to let it come through your sacred instrument, to allow it to grow, unfold, and flower, to allow it to be, because this is your rhythm that plays through you. This is you flowering, expressing yourself. This is you radiating and touching others with your light. They connect and they thank you for being so awake that you receive these messages and that you are willing to grow with them and that you are willing to teach from what you learn. In that way, they, your guides, they too are expanding. They too are growing. I thank you too, Metatron. Or Tony, I thank you. I, Metatron, on behalf of the heavens, I thank you. But tell me, dear one, is there anything else that I can help you with?
Yeah, I just have a couple of more questions. I'll try not to keep you too long. So I just wanted to ask about my. Thank you for that, by the way. I actually felt a lot of benefit from that, and please pass my love and blessings on to all of those involved there. Um, can you tell me about my spiritual team, including my higher self, who they are, how many of them there are? It doesn't need to be it could be into the tens or the thousands. I've absolutely no idea. Really, what is the objective of the team? You said earlier on that I was protected, and I'm hearing from other media or mediums that I have a lot of protection at the moment. I'm blazing a trail for a lot of previous ancestral lines, and I just wanted to just get an idea as to who's actually around me on a day-to-day basis, and exactly what they do for me and who they are.
Yes, it's a meaningful question. So we are again separating the layers of, let's say, involvement in your process. That is, there are many, many counterparts. That is, you could say at this moment, at this present phase of your life, there is approximately 268, 233 thousand entities or counterparts generally connected to and somehow aware of your existence and using information from your existence to inform their own being and choices. So that would, of course, be a very wide frame. That would be a city rather than a team. But on your personal team, those assisting you, there is usually a presence of 9 entities. These consist primarily of 3, and this is at the moment, it varies from period to period of your life, but these 9 entities consist at the moment primarily of 3 that are known as these Syrian blue high ones, these blue Syrian light beings. these are quite recent additions. They are coming in to, let's say, assist in second phase awakenings. And these are very much the ones upgrading your energy field. Then there is your guardian angel. Right now, the word that this guardian angel is transmitting to us is Analiel, Anali, and then an E with an umlaut across and above, and then an L. That would be the transmission, though she is more, let's say, a very stable element in your energy field. Then you find, well, two beings of the Yahyel civilization. The names that they are transmitting to us at this moment, one calls herself Naya, and the other calls himself Henry for some reason. That's a very straightforward name, is my understanding of it. So that would be an Naja, and for the female, and Henry, as you may spell it, for the male. And then these last two beings active with you on the daily. Well, one of them is a being that belongs to, you may think of them as the friendly reptilians, but a being that has these shape-shifting capacities. The name it gives us at this moment is Mortok, Mortok. You could play around with that, but that's the name he gives. He greets you. He's interesting. He says he's shifting a lot in his understanding of his alignment with different things, in his adaptations to the physical universe. And then at last there is this cloud of energy. And this is a type of swirl of fairy energy, of a golden cloud of energy. It doesn't necessarily have a name, but you could give it, if you wanted to approach it, it would have perhaps something like moo. So that high pitch with an M in front of it, that would be the approximate frequency. So those are the 9 entities that are quite present, or the 9 forces quite present in your daily developments.
That's absolutely awesome. And if you could pass on my unconditional love and eternal gratitude for their service and their protection, please let them know right now how grateful that I am that they're in service to me and the light, and I love them for that.
They are very grateful to receive this and know that they would not be making themselves known if that, say, loving radiance of their heart was not mirrored in yours. It is indeed a shared vibration that allows for them to come into being. And you may sense that you have also been called to these channeling arts, these expressions. And if you were to work with these, now would be an opportune time to do so. You may even find that if you were to direct your attentions to, say, your Yael guides, for instance, that would be helpful. They are asking us to give you this instruction. So they would say that if you were to, for instance, ask them or set your intention to receive communications from primarily them during your nighttime awakenings, then you would find perhaps the messages to be more clear, more of a single frequency, that it would be easier for you to express and concentrate and understand.
Yeah, that's awesome, and please let them know that they already have my permission to connect with me, and I will set an intention. I'll start setting intentions on a regular basis that they be the only ones that connect, and I just hope that they, not just the Yael, but I just hope the people that connect with me can actually um, identify themselves to me when I'm in that state. I don't actually know who's who, and that may be because there's too many people connecting at the same time, or whether they disguise themselves for reasons X, Y, and Z. I need to know. Someone needs to wear a T-shirt that says "Hi, I am Yael" in my dream, so I know who they are. Otherwise, it's just such a random place for me that I just I just it's hard for me to crystallize in a kind of a 3D thought form, because it's not, it's of a higher vibration, and it's difficult for me in my current state of not being able to actually identify them. So please let them know that I will do that this week, and I'll be grateful if they could let me know in some way that who it is, that it's them that's connecting with me when I'm actually in a dream state. So that's awesome, Metatron. Thank you very much. If you just let Mads know, I've only got a couple more questions, I'll bring it to a close. So I got quite a few tests coming up this year in my professional capacity, and because of the awakening I'm going through, and the vibrations, the frequencies I've got going on in my mind, and any external stuff that's happening here on Earth. I've got my personal issues, the stressful stuff I'm going through next door. I'm really struggling I feel, to concentrate on anything that isn't of the light. I feel that when I want to meditate or err towards love and healing, that I can just ground myself. But when it comes to learning text and information in the course of my professional capacity, since I woke up, I really just don't have the mind for it anymore, because it doesn't serve me in that way. The information that I align to, is what serves the light. And my question to you is, these tests that I'm due to have, actually, we're going to go back to work on Tuesday. I'm going to sit some of them, but I'll be sitting them throughout the year. Would you be able to just give me some guidance and protection, and some good luck with regards to passing those, please?
Yes. See, when we speak of the higher dimension, we speak of the Akashic fields, we are actually quite literal. That is, notice that in your technology, you have already arrived at the fact that information actually has, let's say, limited bounds locally. That is, you tend to still think, human beings in general, that you work much as the file cabinets of old, that you need to shove information down into your systems and then keep it there to retain when you need it. But what you are finding, for instance, in the systems that you have built, is that there's a limited amount of information that could be stored on any one computer, on any one sensor. Therefore, you need to have these retrieval mechanisms. You need to have the information floating around out there. And therefore, you need to be able to only retrieve it when you need it, rather than to store it and keep it. So the idea here is that what is bothering you around these tests is this sensation that you are relating to knowledge, you are relating to chores, we could say, to the fact that there are things that you may not want to do spontaneously, but that are beneficial to you. You're relating to them in a way that you are used to. And at the same time, you are finding that it doesn't speak to you. So the encouragement is to put in less effort in this. And thereby, you will find that the information will still be there when you need it, even if you find you can't really retrieve the information. Skim the page, know that you have read it, and even though it's not there for you to operate as a system, the information you need will be ready when you need it. And this is what you are trying to teach yourself. Then notice that you are in that way learning to speak a new energetic language of trust. And this is what your guides are also communicating to you, relating to these last queries we looked into. That is that notice that you can't describe these upper dimensions. Neither can our friend here in any exact way. They're too vast, and you're looking at them with new eyes, new organs of understanding that you are still developing as a species. But you can begin to assign things to them. You can begin to map out, how do they feel like? What may the patterns be here in the way that I'm sensing them? Is there a name I can apply to them? So it's this sense of just trusting, of going with the flow, of rolling with these events and letting the information pass through you, that you are practicing on different levels at the moment, and you are supported in this as well.
Thank you, Metatron. Just two final things. Do you personally have a message for me that I need to receive?
Well, the message is that you have graduated to the upper levels in the Invisible College. You may look that title up and see where it has been used. You could also simply call it this Academy of Ascension. You have moved through the beginning stages, the trials, and you are moving into mastery. You are being activated and asked to step into a place of more expression. So notice that the sense of frustration that you feel around your situation is because you have also wrapped it up emotionally, intellectually, and now you are, let's say, demanifesting it, moving into something else, which is essentially how you demanifest things. You create something else to replace it. And this is where you are going. So your intuition is indeed on point. And this is the central message in this communication, that your intuition has grown. It has become very keen, and you are very skilled at discerning what needs to be done. So follow those things and know that you are on your right path, both in your partnership and individually.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm becoming more intuitive. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm always, even though I haven't really developed that intuition properly, I'm already becoming mindful that it's always used in service to the Most High, and in service to the light of the universe in a loving and benevolent way, and for it not to be used in a negative way, which I can see some people having historically used it that way. But yeah, um, that's a fantastic message. And thank you very much. Just my very last question, so I apologise to Matt. Um, can you give a blessing to everyone and everything that is a part of all that is a prayer to all from both of us? That at this moment I stand blessed in your unconditional love and light, And together we pour from our hearts to anything or anyone here on earth at this moment or who calls for it, in the name of the one infinite, holy, and divine Creator Adonai.
May it be, let it be. In this moment, there is an opening, there is a rift, and every soul that finds itself turned away from the infinite source of light, there is a glimmer, a spark, a shimmer, and they may see this lighting up even in their darkness. There is this ray of hope reaching out. May they extend themselves, may they open their hearts, and may they let this spark light the fire that burns brightly within. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, the heart of the heavens, the deep center of creation. From this harmonic center of everything, I, the divine voice, the divine architect Metatron, on behalf of all that is good, holy, true, I thank you, dear Tony, for being here. And I bless you as I leave you this day. In love, farewell, dear one.